Okay, we're recording. One of my favorite anti-narc sites is this site called Sun Lion. He's a Christian. Christians are very, very stupid, Gerd. Here I am, rock you like a herd. Let's find out if that's true. I debated an atheist from the Atheist Experience named Aaron Ra the other day. That was a really good debate. I'll talk about how that went. I came in kind of poking and jabbing him to try to get him to insult me to speed it up, which he sort of did. But then it ended up being actually a really, really good 4-day long, I give him credit, man. The guy took a lot of time to actually discuss with me, which is more than I can say for a lot of people. Anyway, I don't want to get off that. I'll do a whole video on my debate with Aaron Ra. It ended up with him saying that the God of the Bible was a composite God of the Egyptian and Babylonian gods and all this other stuff. I hear this a lot, and it's preached in Freemasonry, but that's just really not true, and I'm going to explain. I want to go back and debate him as to why I don't believe that's true at all. I respect his intelligence and knowledge of a lot of stuff. He's a bright guy. It's just that I think he's misled. But I definitely wouldn't say the guy's stupid. He's very good in his knowledge of biology, and he knows a lot about ancient mythologies and things like that, and that's kind of something that's an interest of mine, so I give him credit there. However, I think that he's off on other things, but anyway, not to beat a dead horse, but I still want to keep throwing some narc videos in here. This is one from Sun Lion, a Christian anti-narc video. This guy's really, really cool. Like him a lot. I like his videos. I want to read something that I think is very, very important because I noticed this. One thing I noticed that after I was hanging out with my narc, after I was discarded as useless refuse that didn't understand the brilliance of the scientific method and all of this garbage, I'm a great scientist, I'm better than God, God should worship me, look at my brilliant particles. It's all crap. It's almost laughable, but it doesn't matter anymore. However, I noticed one thing. I would spend money to drive. He used to live 2 hours away from me, and every weekend I would spend money to go up and see him and come back. Never once, and I drive him around everywhere. I do all this stuff for him. Never once did he say thank you. Even like I said, even when I bought them this book when he was in the hospital, and I thought he was my friend. I came up there because I actually cared about the guy. But remember, when you care about a narcissist, they see that as inferiority and weakness. No, they don't respect you. When you're like, I care about you as a person, you are inferior to me, you piece of garbage. That's the way they always thought. And the reason I felt that I got so much closure with my narcissist is the last thing he said to me was so ugly. He called me a pig and said to take my pig snout and shove it in somebody else's butt crack. The thing about that I thought was funny, and it is he was trying to hurt me and make me pay the price. But what it actually did was give me closure, because what it does is it says that sort of person that says something that ugly to another human being whose only mistake was to care about them says something about that. It's not me that's the piece of garbage. It's the narcissists that are pieces of garbage. They are the subhuman trash. They are the dysfunctional nut jobs, the ones that didn't quite evolve or grow or whatever, and I don't believe in evolution. They're the ones that are missing it up here. That's why when they have conversations, they'll talk, and then they'll contradict themselves, and then they'll look confused, and then you try to say something, and then they'll cut you off, and then they just keep doing this in a monologue, but it's like 10 people in there doing all this. Anyway, never once did he say please or thank you. Never once did he appreciate for me as a friend. Not mad about it. Totally over it. However, it was an observation. Now, when I went up to visit him in the hospital, he took the book and he snarled at it. How dare you bring this gift from me, you piece of shit. Who does that? It's funny. In retrospect, the whole thing's funny. But that should have raised a red flag. Anyway, the reason I bring that up, no names, not pointing anybody out, don't care what happens, I wish them well. I do. You don't want vengeance on? Nah, that's God's department. Like I've heard a lot of narcissists say, one day I will tell God what I think, and he'll throw your ass into hell and urinate on you. Not that that's exactly the way it works, and I'm sort of caricaturing, but the narcissists will be too stupid to realize what's happening. They don't even get it. They're just nuts. Anyway, point is, I gotta love it. Hey man, once you're into the anti-narc community, you are part of a family. I have talked to Kim Wilson she is really cool. You guys know Kim Wilson TV, awesome lady, funny. I sent that to my friend Mark because he has this bat crazy ex-wife that's like, we need to talk. And then she'll say one thing and then threaten him with the court system and then turn around, and these people are just freaking freaks. They're miserable sacks, and they know they are, and so they want to punish the world. I'm miserable, and someone must pay. We need to talk. I need to hurt you because I'm screwed up in the head. It's your fault. Okay, anyway, enough ranting. So I told you I wasn't going to do that. But it is fun. Anyway, no contact. Never going to contact anybody, but this is cool. This is interesting. Narcissists tend to die alone because, remember, they jack up all their relationships. What happens with a narcissist is he lives in a fictional world. You probably have not, he or she lives in a fictional world. I've heard many stories from narcissists. I've heard narcissists that would say they were, hold on, let me check my pizza. I'm going to pause this. Oops, eating bad tonight. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Oops. This needs to go back. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, hold on. Here's where I want to get.
Peace be with you.
All right. Sorry about that. I had to get my pizza. I hope that's not... Wow. Okay. I thought it looked like my mouth was off. Anyway, the narcissist has a reality that's different than the rest of, well, reality. They're living in this thing, and I've heard many great stories from narcissists. I've heard stories where they said they went in and saved a store from being robbed and knocked out the bad guys and saved all the hostages. I knew one narcissist that said that she'd saved the whole hospital from the plague, and then she ended up rescuing 2 ambulances. That's my friend's crazy ex-wife. I've heard narcissists say that they were, like military heroes where they saved the whole company from, Al-Qaeda gunfire, and then you find out they didn't even serve in the military. I heard ones where they would say that they were been on great adventures, and they were great space scientists. One that's my favorite is where they pretend to have, friendships with people on TV shows. I am friends with that guy on TV, and he is friends with me. Well, they live in this world, and they'll keep you around as long as you affirm that. Now, I'm gonna honestly never in it for even half a second did I actually believe that my former narcissist was any of the things that he said he was. So I don't know, as a general rule with all narcissists, whether they really expect you to believe their fantasies or whether you have to just pretend to believe. For example, if a doctor says, I discovered a new planet, or I saved a child from a fire, and it didn't happen. Okay, I don't know why that's happening. I don't know whether they actually, sorry, I'm having problems here. If they actually expect you to actually believe their stories or whether you just pretend like you do. So, for example, if a narcissist says, I saved a school full of children from a fire, even if I don't believe it, I think that's total load of crap. As long as I go, wow, you're a hero. You saved those children from a fire. Will the narcissist keep me around, keep getting high? Because I'm actually affirming their bullcrap lies. Because they say more than convincing others, they need to convince themselves. We know that they'll discard anybody that doesn't play into their fictional reality. We know that. But the bottom line is, do we have to actually believe it? Because I never, ever believed any of the stories. So whether I had actually convinced a narcissist that I really believed the stories that person was fabricating, or whether just pretending like I did was good enough, but I never really pretended like I did. I just accepted. I'm a very accepting person. You can be a total freak show and a weirdo, and I'm going to do the Christian thing and accept you for who you are. I have a phrase is that I'm everybody's friend until they prove me otherwise. It's a little dangerous. Maybe I should change the way I think about that. Be a little bit more vigilant. However, I like people. I love people. I really do. I love working with, I love kids. I like animals. I like people. Narcissist writhing hates and wants to punish you because you are happy. They hate that. So why did they pretend to be nice? Because they felt that they could get you in their web. First, they'll jack you for the high supply. Admire me. But when they realize you're not feeding and building their bullcrap stories, they'll hate you. Now, another reason that narcissists discard is usually they find new supply, which is clearly the case that it happened. However, long before the new supply ever came into the picture, one thing I noticed the last year, the narcissist that I was around, no names, not getting messy with that, I'd be sitting there and go, hey, how are you? And he's like, anybody that would make the things, the arguments for God that you make is very stupid and uneducated. I must call you. I must hurt you. Why? Because I care about you? No, you must fucking be punished. Okay. Well, is that really my issue? If a woman gets raped, it's her fault for being so rapeable? No. She was the victim. This psychopath came along. I must hurt someone. I have a razor blade and I must cut you because I'm miserable. And I've heard so many narcissists blame their targets for things that they've screwed up in their own life. I would be playing in a rock band if it weren't for you, you B, and they called it the B word. Or I would be a great doctor if it weren't for you fault. So what happens is they idealize these targets they have and play them up. They're the most wonderful person. You don't know how wonderful they are. Oh, you can't even imagine how wonderful. But the minute that person slips, maybe disagrees with them on something, maybe doesn't play into their fantasies as much, then they'll turn from, literally within seconds, 30 seconds. In my case, it was one day. One day, you're the best friend I ever had. The next day, I hope you die in a car accident and get cancer. That makes sense. That's rational. Now, they say that with narcissists, that's because they have no what's called object consistency. You're either totally good or totally bad, totally an angel or total trash. You must either be praised or punished and beat with a stick. That there's no in between. They don't allow for nuances like, I like you, but you did something that I'm not happy about, and we can communicate. They don't have that. It's a child. It's an angry child. Look, this is my favorite toy. It breaks. Bad toy. Bright toy. Punish toy. Get new toy. Put middle finger at old toy. That's it. But you can't fix that. You can't fix it. They're wackos. So anyway, they'll get old, decrepit. God will deal with them. But I just thought this... I went on longer than I thought it was going to. I like this. I'm going to read this from Sun Lion because I like this in his video. He says, here, take note. Many a narc says, or should we say, many a narc, having a hard time with that pausing. Many a narc says or say they have no friends, and by saying that, they somehow believe that it's everyone else's fault, that no one is worthy enough for the narcissist to call them a friend. In other words, the reason everybody abandoned me is because they didn't understand my brilliance, my superiority. And the truth is, people left because you're just a self-absorbed piece of crap. Claiming to be a genius and being stupid, and in reality being stupid and simple-minded, being dysfunctional, lacking social intelligence, emotional intelligence, going through a slew of broken relationships, screwing up jobs, screwing up families, screwing up friendships, because they haven't learned that the whole damn world doesn't revolve around me, more, and me. They can't get that. And you'll also notice that when they talk or they write, and I've noticed this both in talking and writing from many narcissists, they repeat the same lines. The same lines that I've seen repeated with me 7 or 8 or 10 years ago, I see with new people. The same literally lines, as if they've memorized these lines. They keep them on the back shelf and they just pull them out and deliver. Same things, same things. This is why people to the narcissist are interchangeable. Once you get rid of one supply, you bring in the new one. The narcissist will change their personality to mirror that person. Everything you like, I like too, like in Nacho Libre. But then certain things will be the same catch lines, the same worship of objects, the same disregard for people. So all sources of supply are interchangeable. Anyway, so many narcs say they have no friends, and by saying that, which is true, they don't. And they're saying they somehow believe that it's everyone else's fault, that no one is worthy enough for the narcissist to call them a friend. This is why they're so socially dysfunct. They see themselves as superior. The whole universe, God himself should bow. The stars are put there for me. They honestly don't get that. And they get furious and they rage if you actually say, hey, you know what? There's other people out there that might matter. Smack the fist like a small child. Me, mine, yo! That's nuts. Now, we get that selfishness with little children that don't know any better. But when you're a grown-up man or woman, and you're still living in that, that means you have not come past the stage of toddler, kicking your feet and smack. The problem is these guys are dangerous. Anyway, fortunately, I'm loaded up on lawyers. Long story there, had nothing to do. My lawyer situation had nothing to do with my ex-narc. He's just gone off and, he can die for all I care. But it's like, that was a different, but, I learned a lot about the law and the legal system and stuff like that. So notice I'm not mentioning any names, giving out any personal information. These are all anecdotes. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. When to say goodbye to the narcissist? Preferably the day you meet them. But the reality is something very different. The reality is something very different. The narc never was a friend to anyone, never respected anyone, never took into account or considered anyone else's needs, never had an appreciation for another human being's intrinsic value. Now, do you think that that's a problem with the person they were with, or do you think that's something messed up in the nut job noodle here with them? To not be able to recognize the humanity in someone or to value them, or to see everybody as an object or an extension of themselves, no different than a tool or a toy. That's something wrong with the person who perceives that. It has nothing to say. Again, as I said before, if somebody gives me a free Ferrari and a mansion, that's worth a lot of money. But if I bust it with a hammer and cuss at it and call it an inferior fool and set the mansion on fire with a stack of money burning up, it's not that that money or that mansion or that Lamborghini didn't have any value, or Ferrari. It's that I'm too stupid to have recognized the value and I destroyed my own stuff. That's where they are. So they go through their whole life believing they're God men because of this and that. But then what ends up happening is they die alone, decrepit, and they lose their looks and they lose what little intelligence they have. And they realize that the put-up job is running to an end, right? If you are a young, handsome person and you're a somatic narcissist using your looks and your sexuality to entice your victims, that'll last for a while, but ultimately you're going to get old and decrepit. The same thing with the brain. You're going to start losing some sharps as you get older. Try to keep your mind sharp. Not that narcissists tend to be, cerebral narcissists that think they're very intelligent, have a tendency to be quite dull-witted and dull. They can be funny and charming in some ways, but in other ways they're very stupid and they're dull. They're very gullible. I saw a lot of gullibility with a narcissist that I knew. Remember, I've known several. Remember, one guy said his name was Christopher Columbus, and he actually believed it. Oh, this guy's name is Christopher Columbus. And the guy's like, I was joking. He's like, oh, I didn't know. Well, they're easy to be fooled. And I suppose his last name could have been Columbus. Colum in Latin means dove. But the whole thing was a joke. But they fall for scams. They fall for shams. They believe things. If you tell them how special they are, they believe it. They really are. And they're not that bright because they already think they know everything in the world, so they're never learning anything new. The wise man says, I don't know this. I need to learn this. This is the whole essence of Socrates going to the Oracle of Delphi. Remember when he says, who is the wisest man? The Oracle tells him it's Socrates. Certainly couldn't be, so he goes back and he debates the sophists. What's the name of that one guy? Gosh darn it, forgot the name. He goes back and has a debate with the sophists, and he realized that he must be the wisest because he knows what he doesn't know. I know that I don't know these things, and I need to learn them. That's what makes me wise. The narcissist knows everything, so he's superior to every inferior insect, but that doesn't make a likable person. The best he's going to be able to do is pick up some sucker who's going to buy into his stories, believe everything he or she says, basically lick their boots, lick their butt crack, whatever they have to do to worship them. Remember, the narcissist does not want love. He doesn't want friendship. That's all inferior. That's all for these inferior mortals. They want divine worship. They see themselves as superior to God. They hate God. God should be bowing to them, and they just don't understand why people would worship God instead of them. That it really confuses their mind. Like I said, time I saw a narcissist at a theater watching a movie about Jesus, the Passion of the Christ, and he looked confused. He really could not figure out why these people would worship God and not him. And so he tried to run his big mouth in the theater, and one guy turned around and said, will you shut up? We're trying to watch the movie. And he became shamed. Oh, I'm sorry. And everybody went sad. And it's like, yeah, we're going to go back to worshiping God. But they really can't. They don't understand. They don't understand. They don't get it. But that makes them so low social emotion. That's why they play all these roles. They'll be everything you want them to be. If somebody tells them, put on makeup and dress up in diapers, they will put up makeup and dress up in diapers. If they have to eat a pile of dog crap to get supply, they'll do it. They won't like it, but they'll do it. And then they'll pretend like they like it because you like it. And then they will be this fraud, this fake. And they hate being exposed. That's why they rage. But anyway, the reality is something very different. The narc never was a friend to anyone. That's why. That right there is why my narc never said thank you, please, appreciated anything I did, or even let me get a word in. It was always about somebody to sit there and listen to them run their big mouth. Never respected anyone. Remember, people are objects, extension of themselves. They don't have the cognitive faculties to relate to other human beings. They never have. Never took into account or considered anyone else's needs. Never had an appreciation for other human beings' intrinsic value. But again, they burned their own Lamborghinis. I thought these quotes were kind of cool that Sun Lion put here. He has some good videos. I suggest Sun Lion. Okay. When the going got tough, the narc simply walked away. When anything was to the narc's displeasure, the narc, right, maybe you disagreed with their favorite color. Maybe you didn't thank them, you didn't give them enough praise and attention. They're idiots. They're idiots. But not before they walked away. They cut you down. Notice all the underhanded jabs. Nothing you ever did was good enough. This has nothing to do with you. This has to do with the fact that these guys are demonic subhumans. But demons you would think would have some intelligence. I usually don't see a lot of that with these narcopaths. They're kind of idiots. But they live inside of TV shows and they or fantasy worlds in general. So yeah, they abandon everybody. Ultimately, everybody gets abandoned. Sooner or later. It can't sustain forever. It never does. There's another video some lion did. I'll show you later. When the narcs sensed, misspelt, that they could no longer manipulate, they walked away. Again, you start seeing through their crap. Their bullcrap stories. When too much effort needed to be expended and there was fresh supply, that gave far more gain for far less effort, the narc walked away. Remember, it's always about using people. And what are they getting out of this? This is sad because they are parasites, and this is how these parasites exist. They go from person to person. I know several. I'm not picking on one. Yeah, there's one I think of in mind, but I can tell you another one that I'm even closer to than my ex-narc, and then I know another one that was an ex-wife of a friend, and then I know another one that's a boss. So I'm not attacking one person. I don't care what he has. You know, if I got news that guy was like dead, I would literally throw a party with my old friends. But it doesn't matter. I'm not vindictive. I don't care about judgment, retribution. They're their own punishment. They're their own punishment. Let it go. Got my video game systems hooked up again. Picking up the guitar again. Got a plenty going on. I hate that. The camera just got blurry. Makes me mad. Refocus. Okay, so basically, it has nothing to do with the target. It has everything to do with a dysfunctional personality. There was called Cluster B. Lack empathy, grandiose, never consider others. Yet somehow the narc came away from those situations always thinking that it was the other person that failed. They didn't thank me enough. They didn't praise me enough. They didn't deny Jesus Christ as their Savior and build a church in my honor. How dare they? How dare they? They must be punished. Go figure. Meaning they're idiots. Anyway, that was just... But God is aware, God sees, and God will be the final arbiter of how much more damage there are. Yeah, he'll get them. I like seeing people get hurt. Never argue with stupid people that will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. Or never argue with a pig. Never wrestle with a pig. You'll both just get dirty and the pig will like it. Alright, anyway, I thought that was a cool video. What is this? The Exorcist? No, I don't know what that is. Whatever. Anyway, there's that. Enjoy.